What is up, everyone? I figured I would slap on a mic and introduce my social media accounts for those of you who might be new to the channel but who are interested in some kind of custom loop PC like the one we've been working on. I do recommend watching part 1 of Project Blue Sky. If you haven't already, check it out in the card right here. But if you want some backstage passes, if you will, to all of the production work going on that's not on camera, I suggest first and foremost following me on Instagram at Salazar Studio YT. It's right there, but you can find it in the video description as well. And then also on Twitter, same exact handle, and they're both run by me personally, so if you want to ask questions or check out some cool pictures and video, then you can do that by following both of those accounts. I also have a Facebook page where I usually, I'm not as active on Facebook and I should be, but where I usually just post like video links and I'll show some pictures as well. Typically they're all tied together, so whichever social media accounts you prefer, you can follow me on any of those 3 so that you can check out some current progress of Project Blue Sky. Speaking of which, I think you are ready for some tech porn, am I right? And here we are. I thoroughly hope you enjoyed the tech porn segment of part 2. This is what it's going to look like, apart from the fact that our GPU blocks aren't here yet. AlphaCool told me that those are on the way. They weren't in stock when I originally requested them, but those should be here by the time we start running the tubes through the whole system. I do want to comment on a few other things that I realized when I was throwing the cables in and everything. So the power supply is in there, and there's plenty of space in the back compartment for cable routing, all that stuff. We'll take care of more of that in part 3. But I did want to mention, first off, my man Tony hooked me up with these epic custom cables. These colors here, these accents, you can see he went with 2 different tones of blue, which I think is gorgeous. I just kind of told him to have at it, just come up with something that he thought would look awesome in a blue themed build, and he followed through. He doesn't do this, normally. He just did this for fun, just to help out a friend, and I greatly appreciate that. So don't go, knocking on his door asking for custom cables and stuff. He just, he has a full-time job. He doesn't have time for this, but he did make time for this one kid, and I think it's really going to pay off in the long run. And once we get the blue coolant in here, I think it's going to make the blue pop even more than it already does. So hypothetically speaking, let's pretend like the graphics card blocks are already here, so we're not using the stock EVGA coolers anymore. We have the water blocks fitted, and we have the little SLI bridge fitted as well. Let's pretend we have that already all installed, and all we have to do now is run the PETG all the way around the case. So let's go through where exactly everything is going to go, because it is a bit cramped. This is a big case, but it's not designed for epic water cooling. This reservoir is actually a bit bigger than what I would recommend for this case. I didn't realize that till I actually got the reservoir, so you kind of have to work around that. It's going to be a bit difficult having to funnel fluid up through the top here, but that's only going to be for filling up. I'm not going to actually run a tube into here, so the fluid will only be circulating in and out of these two. So starting from the reservoir, you can see it says out right there. That is where the fluid will leave, and then it will. I guess I'm going to just come down like this, behind or underneath the cables here. That was something I wanted to talk about. I originally had these cables going up and over through there, but it looked a bit weird because these were pressed right against the reservoir and it just looked too cramped. So I decided to cram them another way, way underneath here. There's actually there's a little cable management cutout down here underneath the reservoir. I managed to, not the reservoir, the radiators. I managed to wedge both of the VGA cables underneath there. So it looks a bit strange underneath, but from the front here, once the camera decides to focus, take your time, there we go. Now it doesn't look too bad, so that's kind of what I ended up going with. As for the 24 pin, it's always slightly unfortunate when the 24 pin lead on the motherboard doesn't line up perfectly with the rubber grommets on the case. And that's not really a big deal though. I had it funneled from the top groove up here, and so it's kind of making like a 45-degree angle, and then I had this CPU EPS pin do the same thing. So there's kind of a like a little diagonal looking trend going on there, trying to do the same thing with the USB 3.0 cable, but that's not really working out too well. Anyway, so the PETG coming down from here, and then it's going to straighten out. Then I don't know if I'm going to need a 90-degree bend or not, but one way or another, that tube will bend upward this way, and it'll hit that parallel port here for both of the water blocks, and then it's going to come up. I'll go from the front here. So it's going to come up, and then it's probably just going to, I don't know if I'm going to do like a 45 or something, or just kind of like bend it in, just kind of play it by ear. Anyway, it's going to go from here to that intake, or that little in port. And then the out port right here is likely going to, see, this is where it's going to be tricky, because it's going to suck covering up this X99 logo, assuming I stick with this motherboard, which I'm probably not, to be honest, so maybe that's not that big a deal. But the pipe will come back up, forward a bit, and then upward. Actually, no, I don't know if I want to do that now, because this is interesting. I want it to basically go over the RAM. I don't want the RAM to be blocked by the tubing in any way, and if we decide to go with RGB DIMMs, then we definitely don't want those covered up by the liquid. I might just have it, come out just a bit and then bend it, and then probably bend it back. I don't know, maybe I'll put a 90 on here just straight up. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, because I need it to go behind the reservoir, so one way or another that pipe's going to have to end up kind of back here, and then the pipe's going to go back here. Another problem, I'm going to do something about the 24 pin. If I wanted to keep doing it to move up this way, there's going to be a problem with getting the pipe through there. So another issue will cross when the time comes. But anyway, that pipe's going to go up through to the left port on the top 360 rad, and then work its way down. I think I'm going to bend this tube and lead it into that port on the back side, and then of course from there it'll come out from here, and then I'm going to do some really intricate bend work getting that thing back into the intake on the reservoir, and then of course the pump will keep that circulation going. So I expect that this bend right here will be tricky only because it's so small and so precise. That one's probably going to take, I don't know, 10 tries. I'm just a conservative estimate there. That's why I bought a ton of PETG. And then I think that the other bend that'll be really interesting is the one from here to the radiator, because that's going to be one solid piece, however I decide to route it. So that's going to take a few attempts as well, I expect. Maybe the one from here to here. But I do expect this one should be pretty much a piece of cake, whatever I decide to do there. And then the bend from here to the bottom should be fairly simple as well. That's how I have it in my head. Of course, that never actually plays out on paper, almost never anyway. So we'll see. We'll see where we end up in part 3. So I do hope you enjoyed watching the build process as it's coming along. I am having a lot of fun with this build. I do think that I'm going to try to do more of these in the future, obviously, just because building PCs is like kind of second nature now. I've done it so many times, it's just kind of repetitive, honestly. It doesn't have the spark that it used to have. You know, it sounds like relationships in general. But now that we've thrown a different variable into the mix, water cooling, it's like building a whole other PC inside of a PC, if you get what I'm saying. Like, it's a whole other process that you have to account for, and I think that it makes it just much more enjoyable and much more challenging. I'm going to try to finish the build in part 3, but this is, you know, custom loop stuff, so it could be dragged out to part 4. I'm trying to finish this quickly. A few of you have been complaining about other tech tubers who take too long to finish custom loops and stuff. Whatever, they have their reasons. I'm just trying to get this out of the way because I have other crap to do. You know, I'm a full-time student, so I have class and stuff, and homework. But anyway, worst case, there will be 2 more parts. I do want to close the video by giving another huge shout out to Alpha Cool and Aqua Tuning for hooking me up with all of this gear. This stuff here that you're seeing, and then I'm actually, you know what, I'm just gonna walk over there. So yeah, this is the rest of the gear. You see a ton of fittings over here, so 90 degrees. We have a bunch of, you know, just adapter fittings and stuff like that. And then all of this is PETG tubing. So there's 4 pipes, if you will, in each of these boxes. So there's a metric ton of PETG tubing to work with, which means we can afford to screw up as many times virtually as we want. A lot of fittings in here. This is kind of like a PETG tube bending tool, whatever. Anyway, they were super cool about sending all of this gear, so huge shout out to them. If you guys want to custom cool anything, I mean, they even have stuff that's pre-made that you don't have to do a lot of work to assemble and stuff like that. They have all of that available on their website. I have the US affiliate, Aqua Tuning, in the description. Click on that one if you live in the US. If you live elsewhere, especially in Europe, this is a German-based company, so you're going to have plenty of access to Alpha Cool gear if you live in the US or in Europe, or just anywhere in America for that matter. So yeah, big shout out to them. Again, I cannot thank them enough for making this possible, and I do hope that you guys consider them for any future custom loop gear you might be interested in. Just, you know, do them a solid, at least check them out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. They offer a lot of cool stuff. If you want to make your rig look anything like this, I do hope that you'll consider Alpha Cool for your future custom loop PC build. I'll catch you in part 3. I might upload a video in between this part and part 3 though, so stay tuned for that. Probably the motherboard review video that'll be up shortly. This is Salazar Studio. Thanks for building with us.